Hi, my name is Kristin and this is Kristin Kraves Books. So again, I'm here for another recent reads video. I have been in a reading mood that always happens to me in October, and I'm kind of sad. You can't really see it in this frame anyways, but all my little Halloween decorations, this is the last time you will see them in a video because this will be posted after Halloween, and I hope you had a fun Halloween. And I am Canadian, so we've already had our Thanksgiving, so don't be surprised if you see Christmas decorations sooner rather than later. I just get so excited for Christmas and the whole holiday season that I don't get tired of it. I extend it as long as I can, so don't be surprised if you see those soon. I just can't help myself. I'm not even sure how many books I've read since my last update, probably 8 or something, and a nice mix of genres here. I'm going to start with the ones that I own physically and get through those, and I'm just realizing that I forgot one. One second. I forgot about it because it's my most disappointing book in a while, and I just kind of have it tucked away to unhaul, which is sad because the cover is so pretty, and this is The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin. We'll see how I unhaul it because it's one of those first edition printings with the beautiful under the desk jacket, but there were things that I loved about this. This follows, I don't even remember our main character's name, Clara, and she is a witch, and the elemental magic in here is really interesting. That's what got me hooked, and I thought that it was pretty fast paced, and there were a lot of interesting conversations about climate change, and I liked the themes that were explored. I just thought they were overshadowed by the romance. And this is so romance heavy, so angsty. It is YA, but that's just not, when I heard other people talk about it, I didn't realize that the romance was so at the forefront. And she actually, Claire, is it Claire? I just told you what her name was and I forgot. Clara had a previous relationship that I thought was more interesting than the one that we got. And I wish that relationship was explored more because this one bored me to tears, to be honest with you. But she's an ever witch, which means that she can perform magic in every season. And in this world, there are fall witches, winter witches, spring witches, summer witches, and those are the only times of year that they can perform magic. But she's special in that she can perform magic all year round, and she doesn't know how to control it. There have been some accidents because of her magic, and this is really her training. And I thought all that was interesting. There's some fun scenes in here, but I just wanted it to go deeper, and I just expected something different. So that is on me. But if you really love like angsty romance, I think you can pick this up and love it. I know a lot of people do and still appreciate the witchy aspects of it, and I just thought it was interesting. Like, the climate change conversation is so well done and interesting. I just wanted more from it. So it's about how the witches are responding to how people have destroyed the climate and the environment, and trying to work with people to realize that the witches can't fix everything and what's happening to the witches and everything. So yeah, I thought it was an interesting premise. Just unfortunately I didn't like it, and it makes me so sad because it's such a beautiful cover. And I do have Rachel Griffin's next book on audio, and I'm thinking I might do like a give an author second chance kind of thing, and that'll be one I try. So I don't know, we'll see, but oh, it's just so pretty, and I just didn't like it. You're gonna see a lot of witchy books. That's just been the mood I've been in lately, and this is In the Company of Witches. I think I've talked about this a few times at this point. This is by Orly Wallace. It's the choice for the Cozy Hollow book club, which is a new book club that has been started on BookTube. I will leave the links you need for that down below because I think it's every other month. So the next one will be in December, so I'm sure we'll get like a festive one, which is fun. Cozy Mysteries. They are having a moment right now, and I'm here for it. I love them. And I just find cozy books in general are having a moment. Cozy fantasy, all that. And that's what this is. It's a cozy mystery with fantasy elements because our main character is a witch. But I think it's important to go into this knowing there are trigger warnings, and you don't really expect that other than murder that's off the page in a cozy. But our main character, what is her name? I'm so bad with names, even though I loved her, is Constance, and she is dealing with grief. She's moved back into a B&B that her aunts run after her husband passes away. And that is at the forefront of the entire story. She is dealing with that grief throughout the entire thing. To be honest with you, I cried at the end, which has never happened to me with a cozy before. And it's actually affecting her relationship with her magic, and it's affecting her every aspect of her life. But in terms of her magic, she is able to talk to the dead. And at the B&B, this guest that everybody hates is murdered, and in a normal scenario she would have been able to talk to this woman's ghost and find out who the killer is, but she can't. something about the loss of her husband is holding her back, and she's just angry at her magic. So that is really explored in here, and I appreciated that so much. And so yeah, it's her going around this small town, which is a common trope, and that's probably why I love cozies so much, talking to all the characters in this town. They're all quirky, different personalities, trying to find out who killed this guest, because one of her aunts is being framed for the murder. So it's fun. I had a good time with this. I cried. I think it's memorable. It's like Sabrina the Teenage Witch, like the 90s version of the TV show with the ants and Gilmore Girls. So if that's the vibe that you want to achieve, read this one. And the nice thing about this is that a lot of cozy mysteries, they're like 20 books in a series. This one only has 2 out right now, and I want to order the second one. I heard that one's set in spring, so I might wait for that. And also, there's no romance in here yet, because we're talking about her grief of the loss of her husband. Normally there's a romance in cozies. I wonder if we'll get that in the second one, but I appreciated that wasn't in here because she just wasn't ready for it. But yes, I thought this was fantastic and highly recommend, especially if you are looking to get into cozies. I think this is a good one to start with. And another witchy book, Her Majesty's Royal Coven by Juno Dawson. I buddy read this one with Becky from Bex Reads. We used the Storygraph buddy read feature, which is awesome, and I recommend doing that. So we were able to read on at our own pace, but look at each other's comments as we went through, and I definitely liked this more than she did, but though I can recognize its issues. I don't think you should go into this one expecting it to be witch focused, magic focused. It's really not. It's the Her Majesty's Royal Coven, as in it's like a government agency of witches, and we're following these witches. They have been friends since childhood. They all have very different personalities. They are now adults, and how they are dealing with the roles that they have and power. Again, there's some grief conversations in here. One of our main characters lost her husband, and you find out what happened later on in the book. And one of the characters is definitely inspired by J.K. Rowling. That's all I will say. I don't want to spoil too much because I went into this knowing very little about it, and I think that's part of why I liked it so much. So yes, definitely a J.K. Rowling inspired character in here, and she's one of my most hated characters of the year, but I thought it was well handled. Lots of important conversations about gender, and it's really focused on who belongs in this coven, and that comes in terms of gender, in terms of race. One of the women, one of the witches, has broken off from this coven and started her own for people of color, and I loved her character, and I thought that was an interesting conversation as well. So I thought it was all really well handled. My only gripe really is the sheer number of pop culture references. I don't mind a pop culture reference here or there, and it's fine, but I find it ages the book. And of course, first I was telling Becky, I'm so excited. They're talking about the Spice Girls. That is so me. I was such a fan of the Spice Girls. My friends and I growing up, we all played out the Spice Girls like these girls did when they were young, but they were mentioned many times, over and over again. Mean Girls was mentioned. It just ages the book. It's a little over the top, and I don't think it's needed. I don't think anybody talks about the Spice Girls that much in their real lives these days as much as we should, because I just love the Spice Girls. But yeah, it was kind of jarring for me. But other than that, I really like this. And this was my first Juno Dawson. Do I tell you? Yeah, I guess kind of ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. And I went and read the synopsis for the sequel, which comes out next year, and I'm so excited for. Do not do that before you read this book. I do that sometimes. Accidentally see like the sequel, somebody posts the synopsis for a sequel somewhere, and I read it. Spoils everything that happens at the end of this book. Do not do that. I'm warning you now. Do not do it. So yeah, and this is a gorgeous Fairy Loot edition. This is one of the prettiest books that I own. I know that it's kind of like obnoxious, but I thought it fit the vibe of the book pretty well. So tackles a lot of serious topics, kind of does it in a light way where there's some humor and stuff, but just it's all handled so well. I really enjoyed this one, and I'm kind of surprised by just how much I liked it. Now this next book, I'm not surprised I loved it this much because I read a book by this author last year. It was one of my top 10 books of last year, and this is The Ghostwoods by C.J. Cook. This is a gorgeous arc. I will probably purchase a finished copy because I loved it so much, but this arc is so stunning, and I will keep it no matter what. C.J. Cook wrote The Lighthouse Witches, and you've probably heard me recommend that a ton because I loved it. And I think what C.J. Cook does so well is create atmosphere. Her books are gothic and different vibes. Like The Lighthouse Witches was about witches. There are sort of witchy elements in here, but this is more spooky, more about this gothic house, this haunted house, maybe. So we're following two characters in different timelines, but the timelines are only 6 years apart. And both of these women, when is this set? I should tell you the year because this is historical as well. So the first timeline is in 1959, and then the second timeline, I guess it is 1966. So, or 1965. My math is not good. So yeah, we're following these two women. So at that time, to be unwed and pregnant was obviously a big deal. So both of these characters are unwed mothers, and they are sent to this house where they give birth and are taken care of, and the babies are put up for adoption. But something's not right at this house and with the people that live here. They start off very kind, starts off very sweet for both timelines, and then things all unravel from there, and it's just so spooky. It'll keep you up at night, but in a really real way. And I just think that CJ Cook is underrated. If you like Mexican Gothic, if you like What Moves the Dead, which I do, that's really my wheelhouse with horror. It's very light horror, but it's more just the environment that's spooky. You're gonna love this. It's got the mushroom vibe in here as well. I don't know if that's like a common theme in Gothic literature. It must be. I should research that, where that stems from, because that is interesting to me. But that is a part, plays a huge role in here as well, and I thought it was really well handled, so fans of that will love this. And yeah, fantastic. Don't be surprised if this is also on my top 10 books of the year, and CJ Cook is now an auto-buy author for me. Okay, now I have a couple books that I listened to in audio that I've talked about in my Halloween recommendations, but I just want to talk about them again because I thought they were fun. The first one is, I finally read Clown in a Cornfield, and listened to it on audio. I thought it was great on audio. Clowns are my biggest fear. If you didn't know, I hate everything to do with clowns. I just think they are the worst. So the thought of like a grown man in a clown costume, the whole thing just freaks me out. Just, it's my worst nightmare. And then you put killer clowns in it, I just hate it. So I was ready to be scared, and to be honest with you, I almost DNF'd this at the beginning. There was so much setup, and I just did not come here to care about the characters because I knew characters were gonna die. I wasn't here to learn about their motives or their high school drama or any of that. I was just here for the slasher vibes, and I'm so glad that I pushed through because we got that in spades. I got what I was promised. There are some really graphic scenes with these killer clowns in a cornfield, and it's quite over the top and fun and slashery and like a teen slasher movie, and the author's not afraid to go there and describe those gruesome scenes, and I had a good time with it. So yeah, I appreciated all that. I think it's kind of a parody. It's sort of satirical. I thought that the killer's motive was kind of interesting and over the top, but it's trying to say something. It's like a commentary on something, but I do think it was like a parody. I have heard mixed things about the sequel, so I don't know if I'm going to continue because I don't care about the characters enough. I don't really care about their relationships, and I think that the second book deals more with the fallout of everything that happened in the first book, and maybe there's some copycat killers and stuff. I don't know. If you read the second one and you think there's enough slasher vibes for me to have fun with it, let me know. So yeah, I do think that that one is worth reading if that it's been on your radar for as long as it has been on mine. Then the next one is The Lost Girls, which is like a campy vampire story. Again, this feels satirical, like a parody, like it's making fun of itself, and that's what was fun for me. So we're following this vampire who works at Taco Bell and is stuck at Forever 16. She was turned by a vampire named Elton when she was 16 years old, and he has since abandoned her. And then two other vampires that Elton has turned come and meet up with her, and they band together to save his next victim. And she may or may not have feelings for his next victim. So there's a sapphic love story in here. And I know a lot of us, myself included, struggle with that trope of a vampire that's been alive for many years having a relationship with a teenager, but the author does say that our main character is forever 16 in all ways. She has not matured since past 16, and the love interest is 18, but I do kind of think it's making fun of that trope too. But the found family in here is really great. The relationship that she forms with the other vampires is fun, and she's been on her own for so long, and it's really sweet, the connections that they make, and her friendship with maybe somebody that was her friend when she was alive, And yeah, it's just kind of fun. I just had a good time with it. And you know what else I liked? These vampires, they don't have a moral code. Our main character sort of does, in that whenever she catches her prey, she lets them try and run away first, but she always gets them anyways. But she wants to, just for her own state of mind, give them a chance and say, well, they had a chance to run away. But all the other vampires, they just kill. They kind of have fun with it. They toy with their prey a little bit. It's kind of fun. I don't know why I keep saying these like slasher killing, teen slasher things are fun, but it was just the vibe I was going for, and I think you know what I mean. So I actually really liked that one. I had a good time with it. I then listened to a really fun and quick audiobook, and I posted about this in my community tab because I did read it after I posted my books to read on Halloween video. But I do think it would be perfect if you're looking for like a witchy romance, and this was recommended by Vina at Miss WOC Reader. I will link her video down below. She did a video about fall books that are overhyped and what she might read instead, and this was one of her recommendations, which I thought was fun. And this is available on Audible Plus, so if you're an Audible Plus member, you can listen to this now, download it. And I think it is also available as an ebook. So What the Hex is by Alexis Daria, and I loved You Had Me at Ola. I know that gets mixed reviews, but had a lot of the tropes that I like, and I already knew that I liked Alexis Daria's writing. And this was just a good time. You can't expect too much from a audiobook that's 2.5 hours, so you just have to go with the flow. I thought it was great. It had a lot of the romance tropes that I like. So our main character is a witch, and she is a fashion designer in New York, but she used to be able to do some kind of enchantment on the clothing that she can't really do anymore. Her sister is getting married, so she goes back home, and it's this island near Miami that only witches are granted access to. So she goes home, she realizes that something strange is going on here. That her sister's husband is being possessed by a demon, and all of her family is under like his spell. And she needs to fix this, obviously. And the only other person that is aware of this is, of course, her rival from high school. They were obviously both very intelligent. They were fighting for valedictorian. He won, she's bitter, all that kind of stuff. So you get that trope. But they have to work together to save their families, and it's great. They go into a hotel, so there's a one bed trope. They have to fake their romance to kind of explain why they're together all the time and kind of trick this demon. I loved it. I loved everything about this. I thought it was such a nice way to spend an hour and a half of my afternoon. I had such a good time. So yeah, I really recommend that one. And the last one is one that came out in October and had to download it on Scribd and listen to it right away. This is The Spareman by Mary Robinette Kowal, and this is the same author as The Calculating Stars, which I have not read, but is definitely on my radar now, though I think it's quite different from this one. And this is like Agatha Christie in space. So we're following a main character who is a famous heiress and inventor. She just got married. She is quite famous, so she wants to have some anonymity on her honeymoon, and so her and her husband go on this space liner for their honeymoon where they can kind of stay undercover. Nobody really knows them. In this sci-fi, Earth still exists, so it's not like it's a dystopian or anything like that. We just have space travel now, and you can go there on vacation. So that is what she does, and of course somebody is murdered and her husband is being framed for this. And now she's having a hard time contacting her lawyer down on Earth, so everything that she wanted, all the reasons that she chose to be on the space liner, it's kind of biting her because now she can't get the help that she needs to help her husband. But she's also quite wealthy, and she even says in here like, well, I know that he'll be fine. I don't think that he'll be found guilty, not because he's innocent, though he is, but because I have money. So at least she recognizes that privilege of all of that. So eventually she breaks her anonymity because she knows that that's gonna work in her favor. And the mystery part of this wasn't my favorite. I don't think you go into this expecting to be like blown away by the mystery element, but it was just fun. I thought that the world that was created here was really interesting. The way the space liner is all set up is quite unique, and I really liked our main character. She is disabled. She has a service dog named Gimlet, which I think is such a cute name, and there's a lot of conversations about how others interact with service dogs. She also has other like mobility aids. She has a brain stimulation device, and I just thought all of this was interesting, talking about maybe these things that may be available in the future. This is like a near future world. This is casually queer. It's very non-binary, so I thought that was all well done. As well, at the beginning of every chapter, you do get a cocktail recipe, so I think a lot of people could appreciate that. And it really is centered around the bar a lot of this. It's just a vibe. It's just a vibe. That is what I will say. I had a good time. Don't go into it thinking you're going to be blown away by the big reveal. I don't think that was really the point of it. I just had fun. The dialogue's kind of cheesy, like her and her husband had like some steamy scenes, but it's kind of corny. But you know what? I thought it was fun. I just had a really good time with that. I will be finishing Babel soon, Babel Babel soon. I'm buddy reading that, and our discussion is on Sunday, so that'll be my next recent reads video. let me grab it. I'm trying to figure out what I like in thrillers, so I'm reading Anywhere You Run by Wanda M. Morris. I've heard great things about this author's debut. I was sent this arc, and it's more of a historical thriller, which I think I might really appreciate. So those are the two books that I'm reading now. I will be reading Autumn Crow on Halloween, and then who knows, I gotta start tackling my November TBR. I will link my 2 TBR videos down below. So if you've read any of these, I'd love to know your opinions on them. Thanks again for the support. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.